Now that we've ticked over to 12 o'clock, I'd just like to quickly just start by saying, hey, and a warm welcome to everybody who's attended here. My name is Robin Holt, and I head up the campaign management team here at Birchal, and I'm joined by Lee and Alan, the co-founders of Tiny Village Group, who obviously we are running an expression of interest campaign for. And the reason why we've jumped onto a webinar this time is because they're looking to open up their offer next week. And it's really exciting because you've received heaps of interest. There's actually been over 570 EOIs now, which have been submitted. So we're really looking forward to opening up the offer for this one next week. And Lee and Alan would really like to give you a lot more detailed potted history about Tiny Village Group and kind of go through some of these details before we open up for questions. So before I hand it over to Lee and Alan, I'd just like to mention that the Q&A feature down the bottom is there for you to use. So please ask your questions throughout the webinar. I will be picking them up and basically asking them as we go along. Well, mainly after the presentation, actually. So Lee and Alan, great to be working with you guys. Thank you very much for being here.
You too, Robin. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate all your help. It's been, we were just saying before, it's been a very, very busy time. So thanks to everybody that's joined us for this live webinar. I just want to say from myself and Alan and the rest of us, thanks so much. We've been blown away by the amount of interest that we've received. We believe in what we're doing, and we thought it would be received well, but we were quite unsure how well it will be received. We've tried to speak with as many people as possible. We'll continue to do so 24/7 over the next couple of weeks when we go live, and we'll give you, everyone can have our personal numbers, personal emails. Feel free to sing out. After hours isn't a thing at the moment when we're trying to raise capital, so anytime you're free, we'll make time free as well. Another thing that I'll touch on a little bit later on is we've been contacted by so many people in the whole process who want to invest, but also want to collaborate or want to share new technologies or other things as well, which I'll touch on later. So all these little bits that we never anticipated coming out of this capital raise have come out as well. The partnerships, which has been amazing. So
Amazing.
yeah, we'll go on to talk a little bit more. I'm Lee. I'm the guy with the English accent. You'll see our faces in a little bit when we get finished. Alan, the director, is sat next to me. He's the guy with the Aussie accent. So you'll see us both in a little while. So yeah, thanks very much. We'll jump in. We've prepared a short presentation that we'd just like to go through with you guys, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have at the end. So yeah, feel free to sing out if you have any questions. There we go. It's a great start. Next page. Over to you, Alan.
Thanks, Lee. I first wanted to bring it back to the basics of what Tiny Village Group is about. And at its core is it delivers environmentally sustainable nature experiences. So Tiny Village Group actually operates in the nature tourism market and the outdoor events market. They're rapidly growing markets in themselves, but there's a number of niches that are within that space that is driving this change and desire to have these nature experiences. One of them is glamping. Glamping in Australia is still a relatively new experience. In fact, compared to Europe and the United States, glamping is still in its infancy. In those two other jurisdictions, glamping has actually grown over 100% over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Australia, I meet people every day that don't even know what glamping actually is. So I just wanted to provide some background to glamping in itself and the tiny house movement, which is a little bit better known. So glamping, it's simply put, it's glamorous camping, but the difference is because of its pop-up nature, because of its low environmental impact, glamping can occur in amazing destinations. So but it still has some of the the creature comforts of home compared to traditional camping. So the demand for glamping in Australia has grown enormously, and we're still only in its early stages of its market growth. The other major driver of what Tiny Village Group does is the experiences that people enjoy in unique structures and tiny houses. Tiny houses, I'm sure most of you have seen TV shows that people throw together some recycled materials, they throw it on an old trailer, and all of a sudden they've got a tiny house that they can enjoy. So this environmental sustainability, this minimalist movement low environmental impact, and the flexibility that these experiences can be delivered to and by are what is driving the market.
Yeah. So Tiny Village and Twilight Glamping joined forces to create the Tiny Village Group. Big question is, why did we join forces? Why did not just keep going our separate ways and doing what we were doing? Although it was going really well, going our separate ways, we just decided to join forces because we shared common views and common aim. We have the same drive, and we wanted to leverage off each other's strengths and to offer an integrated nature experience. You'll hear us say integrated about 1,000 times today. The reason is it's vastly important to what we do. So a lot of other people out there, companies, competitors, etc., all over Australia and the world, they're doing similar things and they're doing it very well. I'll be very honest. The difference and the standout point for us is this integrated, again, this word is we offer the whole package. So we offer the whole package, as in we offer venues, we offer events, we offer accommodation, and we offer activities. Just to give you an example, a wedding, we've been speaking with a bride and groom over the last couple of months. They just came to us, we'd like a marquee. Awesome, we can do that nice and easily. And they saw the range of marquees that we offered and decided to pick a different one. So they picked a different one. Then on top of that, what they decided to do was go, oh, you do furniture, tables, chairs, bars, stools, dance floors, lighting, we'll take that as well. This is all really stressful for us. Can you help us out? Oh, you do events production? Yeah, well, we'll take one of your guys and we'll let you produce the whole event. So that's another side to the business. Then they're on a rural farm property out the other side of Melbourne, and they wanted the guests to be able to stay over. We offer the accommodation. Then they wanted to do a bit of a books night a couple of weeks before and a hen party as well, and we can arrange all of that at one of the venues. So the point I'm trying to get at is a customer approaches us and they want maybe one thing off us or two things, and we can come and we can pull the whole package back together. Or the flexibility part, which is the next section I wanted to talk about, is we can just offer the one bit. We might just offer the Great Ocean Road walks or the surfs, but that's up to the customer. But we're here to offer the whole package or just one little bit as well. Scalable. So scalable is two-form. We're scalable in the sense that we can create these experiences, whatever they may be, for one person or one family. Someone might want to hire out a tiny house. No problem, we can do that for the weekend. Or they might want to bring all the friends because they had a great experience there previously and hire 2, 3, 4 tiny houses, a couple of bell tents, etc. So it's scalable that way. Or somebody might want tents or accommodation or marquee hire for 1,000 people, wedding, for example, or a festival. So it's scalable in the sense we can do it from 1 to 1,000 people, just to put numbers on it. The other way that it's scalable is location. The model we offer, and all this information will be in a lot more detail in the offer document, which I'll keep coming back to as well, which you'll receive at some point soon. The location, so we're very light touch. We can bump into a place and we can put our equipment down, and then we can come and pick it up and we can go and move it. So we can go and do a festival in New South Wales. Then the next week we can use the same equipment and we can go and do a corporate retreat in Victoria. So it's scalable in that way as well, is that we can grow and we can move. So integrated nature experiences, there's the word again that I mentioned we were going to keep banging on about. So yeah, look, we've got our own venues, our own event hire, whether that's the marquees, the furniture, the equipment, the different solutions that we've got. Then we've got the unique tent hire, which Alan mentioned before. So whether that's the glamping, the tiny houses, teepees, yurts, we've got the adventure and nature activities. So as I mentioned before, is it a walk? Is it a coastal hike? Is it a trek? Is it foraging? Is it workshops? We offer that as well. COVID, I think we'd be pretty naive to stand there and do a presentation in front of you all and not mention COVID. Obviously, we're coming out the good side of it now. But yeah, I just wanted to touch and be kind of truthful as to how COVID had affected our business and what we've done to minimise the impact and reduce the impact that has and will have moving forward on the business. So the massive buzzword that everyone, when COVID hit, all business people kept talking about is pivot. How did you pivot? What did you do next? Did you pivot to this? Did you change your business? And look, we're fortunate that we didn't need to pivot. We just refocused, and we're continuing to refocus. We've got a really flexible business model which, as I mentioned previously, allows us to pick up customers at different points of the journey. So when all of a sudden, weddings, it's not going to happen, festivals, it's not going to happen, when COVID first hit, we were like, well, okay, well, let's concentrate on the smaller gatherings, which are the getaways or the nature activities. So that's what we did. Then all of a sudden that got taken away from us. So we were like, okay, well, another thing that we do is we sell the equipment as well. So every year in the pop-up bit of our business, we keep our equipment looking new and refreshed. So we sell everything secondhand and we buy it all again new. So we ramped up tent sales and selling on secondhand tents because we knew that was something that people were going to want to do when lockdown eventually finished. So we just kept moving. And then people got sick of being at home and working from home and spending hours and hours just mindlessly scrolling through everything on the internet, as I'm sure everyone listening, myself included, did at that period of time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And you just got fatigued of just looking through the phone constantly, or the internet, or watching Netflix or whatever. So we then started to see people going, all right, well, I'm still going to get married, and this pandemic isn't going to last forever. So we started to get a few inquiries for weddings. So we refocused again, and we started to market and strategically approach weddings, and started to deal with people and talk them through the journey of weddings, because we're really fortunate. We set our business up so, we take 50% deposit for weddings and bookings, and it's non-refundable. We've obviously been really flexible and worked with all our bride and grooms. We've not to offer them a credit that they can use indefinitely to go ahead with their weddings in the future. And we've actually managed to reschedule and postpone every single wedding that was affected, and we haven't had any cancellations. So that allowed us to, we're taking wedding bookings for 2021, 2022, 2023 at the moment. So even though we were quiet, once people started to see a little bit of good news coming out of COVID, and Dan Andrews popped up and give his daily updates consistently, we would see the shift in the focus in the weddings and people's inquiries go through the roof. So we were able to refocus again. As it says on the screen, we remained profitable throughout, and we still saw a lot of strong growth. And coming out the back of it, I said to Robin, I think before a lot of you joined before, this is the busiest weekend we've ever had in tourism on the Great Ocean Road, ever, which is just amazing. And we're still getting inquiries yesterday, today, I'm sure we will tomorrow, which is just fantastic. So COVID, yeah, it's been horrible, real nightmare, but at the same time, we've been fortunate that we reduced the impacts, and we've really refocused our business when we've needed to.
Thanks, Luke. Tiny Village Group, at its very core, has a simple purpose. That is to deliver environmentally sustainable nature experiences. So whenever we deliver a nature experience, it has environmental sustainability at its core in terms of what we're delivering. So the issues of remaining carbon neutral, our impact on the environment, how can we make it more, how can we recycle better, how can we provide an experience that puts our planet in a better situation than when we first started the experience. So what Tiny Village is aiming to do is to deliver experiences in locations that are unique and unforgettable. So when people call us, we're like a one-stop shop to deliver these nature solutions. And so that when people want to get away to nature, they know there's an organisation that has a solution from where to go. And it's easy, it's simple, and it's flexible.
Thanks, Alan.
Liam touched upon our venues. So when a customer would like an experience at a specific venue that they want, we're flexible enough to service that. But Tiny Village Group itself has its own venues. Currently there's 3, and the first one is located at the top of Lavers Hill on the Great Ocean Road, which is near to the 12 Apostles and the Great Ocean Road Walk. That's in a unique, idyllic location. It's surrounded by the Otway rainforest. The second location is just as beautiful. It's located near Bells Beach. That location is near the Surf Coast Trail Walk and other bike tracks and hiking areas. And our third venue, which is just as beautiful, is the Tarinda Estate Winery, which is on the Bellarine Peninsula that overlooks the ocean back onto the mountains, which is simply stunning. Now, just to recap what Lee said about our integrated services. So whether it's a venue or whether it's accommodation or whether it's event hire, the other aspect that we offer as part of the service delivery is our nature adventures. Now, most of you might be aware of some of the most famous ones, which is the Great Ocean Walk and the Surf Coast Trail Walk, but we also offer other forest and coastal walks along famous beaches such as Joanna Beach, Point Addis, Bells Beach, and we also offer mountain bike rides through the Otways, as well as surf lessons along the Great Ocean Road, and these famous nature walks that I just previously mentioned.
Thanks, Alan. Sustainable Festival Series. So we touched on this really briefly in the on the Birchal's website, and there'll be a lot more in the offer document as well. So we've created a series of festivals, basically. They'll be held at different locations, whether it's one of our locations down at the 12 Apostles or whatever, or whether it'll be at another location. So we've got a few different festivals we're going to run. Got a glamping and tiny house festival, a music festival, a wellness festival, and a 32-kilometre nature walk that we're going to host from the 12 Apostles to Labour's Hill. A few more. This was kind of planned to go ahead, obviously with COVID and everything going on. But it's actually been nice to, a lot of the people, as I mentioned at the start, that have reached out to want to connect with us. We've actually made some real good contacts. So usually these people that would be really busy setting up huge music festivals or big wellness retreats, etc., found themselves not being able to operate. So now these like-minded people have got time to get in touch with us, and we've had time to put a relationship in place. So the festivals we originally had planned have now been souped up because we're able to bring other partners on, and we're pretty excited about that. And it's also an opportunity for us to show off our venues and our equipment and tiny houses and that, etc. as well. We really want to bring everybody together. It says community up on the screen, and I'll touch on that on a later slide. But we want everyone, all of our community who are like-minded, to come together and, you know, to meet, to talk, to share these experiences, to give us feedback as well. Because we know what we're doing, but there's always room for improvement, and there's different specialists in different areas. So we're really open to that. So building our community is really important to us as well. Sustainability will be at the focus of everything that we do. We were really inspired last year. It was the second year running. We did all the accommodation in the glamping tents for Queenscliff Music Festival in the Bellarine Peninsula. And they've always had a sustainability focus, but last year they really ramped it up. I remember queuing up at the bar for half an hour to get a drink. I got there and he's like, "Where's your glass that you bought?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't bought one." So I had to go all the way to another queue to go buy a glass. And then you carried it around with you to every single place you went, which was, after the initial frustration of queuing up for half an hour, then another half an hour to get a drink. It was a pretty cool experience. You took that away with you, a bit of promotion for the festival as well. And then there's so many bins there. I've never seen as many bins in my entire life for all different colours, for all different things. And what was really cool is they got all the kids involved. So all the children were going around collecting the parents' different rubbishes, and it almost became a game of finding the right bin to put it in. And we just thought that was an amazing experience. So we want to take that and build on that with all of our festivals, and work with like-minded people on the festival series as well. So we're really excited about that. And, you know, with the restrictions easing, we'll be able to release more details about what's going to go ahead first and when it's going to go ahead soon, I hope.
Thanks, Lee. As you can see from the numbers on the screen, financial year 2020 was still a remarkable year for the Tiny Village Group. The movement towards nature experiences is enormous. And in fact, it's a trend line that's not going to go away. Once we go to COVID normal, we will see that number increase even more dramatically. So in terms of revenue growth, in terms of events, in terms of night stays, number of guests, the Tiny Village Group, it all increased. In fact, part of the ethos of what we're trying to develop is have people think twice about going to stay at a mainstream traditional hotel stay, and think about, you know, engaging in nature. Not only is that good for Tiny Village Group, it's also good for their mental and health and well-being, as well as it's giving back to regional parts of Australia that need their support the most at the moment. So we strongly believe the Tiny Village Group not only will deliver a great return financially, but it also deliver returns in a whole range of aspects of people's lives.
Yeah.
So that's why we believe so strongly in our environmental sustainability purpose, but also in the business model that we've adapted.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Alan. So we've talked a lot about what we've done previously and what we've done to date, and now we just want to talk a little bit about what we want to do in the future. So future venues, and this, I showed this to one of my friends and said, this is what we're looking at doing, and they were turned around, they were like, well, is that like your dream holiday list in Australia? And although it is, these are some of the most beautiful places around Australia, they're all in different stages of discussions and development at the moment. But yeah, we've got from developing the areas and the sites that we've developed and learning the knowledge that we've learned around planning and regulations and permits and infrastructure and costs, etc. We've got a real detailed and strict criteria that need to be met for us to be able to put our sites on there. So whether it's, taking out leaseholds or whatever on different sites and into a 30, 40 year lease, and then we put our equipment on top and we monetize the land for the landowner at the same time as us making this something amazing and offering a new sort of area as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what specifically we're going to put on, because obviously that's going to come down to, how successful we are in the capital raise, as to how detailed we go into it, what we do first as well. It's going to be important. But look, our aim is to have 15 venues within the next 3 years. A lot of the places you can see on your screen there, as well as being stunning places, they're all quite varied. They all offer something different. So although we've really entrenched the business at the moment down on the Surf Coast and the Bellarine, we know there's other amazing places that we want to go and we want to set up, and we know what we can achieve. A figure, I think it was Alan that pointed out to me over a year ago back, but guests in nature tourism spend 53% more than the normal tourists, so the average tourist when they go away. So yeah, I can see Robin's got a bit of a bemused look on his face there, and I must admit I was the same when I first heard that as well. But it just shows to me what we're doing is not only offering a great experience. I mean, Alan's gone into it in quite a lot of detail, but we're making more money off those guys as well. They're happier to pay more money for, one, a better experience, two, a more sustainable and more natural experience at the same time as well. So the next slide relates to what I was saying. So you'll be able to see on your screen here, and it'll be in the offer document once again in more detail, but we've created some investor benefits. And these investor benefits they'll be with you for the lifetime of your investment. So you'll be able to use these annually every single year. As you can see, it's staged from $500 investment all the way up to $15,000 worth of investment. And you're going to get, depending on what you invest, a variety of different benefits and bonuses, really, whether it's free walking, hospitality discount, free annual glamping stays. And this will apply to all the sites that we take over and set up in the future as well. So funnily enough, I had a lot of people contact me from Western Australia saying, you're not planning on setting up here? And I mean, I love WA as well. Margaret River is one of my favourite places. If I didn't live in Torquay, I'd probably live down there. So, we are looking at expanding. We're going to look as that previous slide slowed on the West Coast, on the East Coast first of all. But we have had a lot of interest from the West as well. And those benefits will be able to follow you wherever you go for the lifetime that you're an investor in the company. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions around that as well. So if there is, feel free to message us. And what we might do, we've already had quite a few questions, and we might send a bit of a mass mail out answering all of those questions in a lot more detail, tomorrow or something like that. Once we get I anticipate a lot of questions coming back after this webinar. So yeah, more than happy to do that, or feel free to give us a call as well. Where to from here? So as Robin mentioned at the start, if you all weren't here, Monday night, the expression of interest closes. The process from there is Tuesday morning, we'll begin to take investment and it's private investment. So anybody that's expressed their interest, which all of you guys have here, I believe, hence you've got the link, you'll have the first opportunity to be able to invest in our company. We'll be constantly in dialogue with people over the next couple of weeks of the investment period. Once we're happy with the amount of investment we've got, we either close it or we're going to take it publicly live. So it's just a case of first come, first serve as well. Like we said, we've had a lot of expressions of interest, and we really expect it to be a strong uptake as well. What we're also doing, a lot of people have come to us and said, I'm happy with what we've said. We've had phone calls. We've gone through a few details. We want to invest. This is how much we want to invest. When can we invest? So to those people, what we're doing as well, an additional investor benefit, first 100 people that invest on Tuesday, what we will do, we're going to give you an additional free night stay, and that'll be able to be used in the first 12 months as well at any of the venues. So yeah, that's just a little bit of an extra incentive as well there for the people. If you don't need any more questions answering and you want to invest, which a few people have already said they have, jump on board first thing Tuesday morning. We'll get in touch with you after that as well, and we'll offer you the additional free night. So I touched on community really briefly before, and this idea of community has grown a lot even since we started the expression of interest by just people reaching out and getting in contact with us. So we're not just looking for people that are going to invest a lot of money, which would be nice, it'd be great, we'll meet our target earlier, but we really want to create this community where even if it's the minimum amount, which is $250 to invest, we believe people will take us up on the investor benefits that we're offering. It's not just a shiny coin to try and get you to sign up. We want you to come and stay and take on these benefits, because we know you'll be happy in our service and you'll go away and tell the rest of them. So you'll become part of our community, and in turn you'll go out there and you'll be telling everybody about our stay, your friends, etc., which we think will come back. It's great for you, it's great for us, it's great for the other people that you'll get involved as well. I've said it, I'll say it again, environmental sustainability is going to be at the core of everything that we do. So many people have got in contact with us offering their services and wanting to collaborate, and outrageous technologies that are off the grid and sustainable that I've never even heard of before. It's amazing. So thanks very much for that. What we've said to a lot of people is the capital raise, will be done by Christmas. We're going to revisit in January once everybody's had a break. And if we haven't managed to get back in touch with you, look, we're really sorry. We've tried to. We're interested in speaking to absolutely everybody, and we're going to make that a priority in January when we know where we sit with the capital raise. And just again, to come back to what we're trying to deliver, nature experiences, are important anyway. Physical and mental health, getting outside, sustainability and looking after the planet. Even more so after COVID, the physical and mental health, myself included, I'm a pretty active person. I think everybody realizes how important it is to be able to get out there, get into nature, just to jump in the ocean, to see a tree if you've been locked up for ages. So physical and mental health is going to be so important after this, and we're positioned as a lot of the other operators in the market in such a good position coming out of this as well. And sustainability gets talked about a lot, about the planet, which is really, really important, having a healthy planet, but it's also about the sustainability of ourselves. I've been there, I'm sure a lot of you have. You get burnt out, you get too tired. You can't make those healthy and sustainable choices because it's too much of an effort. It's too hard to think that extra mile. So while we're talking about sustainability being about the planet and the health and well-being of the world that we're leaving behind, it's also really important for ourselves, sustaining ourselves and being able to operate at the level that we want to be able to operate at, so we can make these good and healthy choices moving forward. So look, that's it from us. We're really excited with where we are so far, what we've done so far. Thanks so much for all your conversations, your times on the phone, being here today. As we said, this will get emailed out to everybody as well. And now we're just here to answer any questions that you may have. So I'll stop sharing the screen. Robin, you're welcome to fire away questions at us, mate.
Absolutely. And there's actually, there's a few which are perfectly related to equity crowdfunding, which I'll just tick off first. And I just wanted to highlight to everybody who's answering any questions in the chat function that if you do use the Q&A function, you can see other questions that have been answered here, so that anything isn't duplicated. Obviously, if it's just to us panelists, then that's fine as well to use the chat function. But just looking at some of the questions which have been asked around, will you send an investment link for the offer on Tuesday? Yes, we absolutely will be doing this. The link will actually remain the same for Tiny Village Group. So the same way in which you viewed the company and expressed your interest, you will still be able to use the same link to access the investment offer. It's just going to be private and hidden at that stage. So therefore you will have first access to the offer. at that stage as an expression of interest that you've made on the Tuesday next week. So I've answered that one live. What time will it be opening on Tuesday morning? It's likely that we'll be opening around midday on Tuesday at 12 o'clock AEDT. And when it comes to how much you are looking to raise, we have kind of finalized on a $200,000 minimum target and over 2 million maximum target. Is that correct from you guys?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. And somebody here has asked, actually, Rebecca has said, why not include WA initially?
It's a good question.
Kind of growth plan, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, we're situated. I love WA. I spent a lot of time there. We just feel like we can't grow everything at the same time. So we're going to focus on the, to get a flight to Adelaide is 45, 50 minutes, same to Sydney or whatever. So we feel like we can go and we can set up in those areas quite quickly. But look, we've had so much interest in WA. I think I said to Alan the other day, we will not rule it out. There's no reason for us to rule it out. So yeah, any ideas are welcomed.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's just a number of questions in here, which is going into the chat and then the Q&A, and I'm trying to sort of mesh some of them together, but we've actually had some really interesting questions. And one of the first was from Emma. So I'd love to just go through this. Emma's asked, what does environmentally sustainable mean to the Tiny Village Group? What would you say the impact will be on the locations that you have chosen to have access or have access to, basically?
When everyone gets a chance to see the offer document, there's a lot of imagery in there that shows some of the events that we've held. And the rule of thumb is to keep it as good as, if not better than when we originally went there. If you look at all the infrastructure that we pop up, it has a very low impact on the environment. We're not putting foundations in the ground. We're not building permanent infrastructure. All the things that we do in terms of nature experiences, we give guidance, we give educational tools to all the participants that engage in our nature activities. So we make sure that we've got a waste initiative at all of our events to make sure that no damage is done to the environment that we utilise.
Yeah, fantastic. And we've had quite a couple of long questions, but really interesting ones from Charles here, who has said, as an entrepreneur in solar energy and a passion for nature, I'm super excited about what you're building and can't wait to be a customer and potential investor too. As you explained, events are labor intensive and bespoke, while glamping depends on a consistent high quality experience, an area which, Unyoked excels in. We know that they're a competitor. I think, I think as a competition, really, it's interesting because so many people would share the same passion for both businesses and want to use both. But what Charles has asked here is, how will you staff the business to address these two different opportunities? Are you perhaps risking under delivering by remaining diffuse in focus?
Okay, I'll jump on that one.
Okay.
I guess operations side, one of the most important things to us is to always over deliver. The standards we have today are still the same standards as when we first set out, when it was me and my wife going setting tents up on the weekend by ourselves, lint roller in at the end of it, Dyson and everything. So it's just got a flow downhill effect. I'll still be going setting the tents up tomorrow. I mentioned before, it's the busiest weekend we've ever had on the coast. Tomorrow I'll be going out setting the tents up. With the guys that we work with, everyone's passionate about what we do, and it comes back to this community. It's not only community within the investment and the people that experience our services, but it's the staff as well. We've got staff that have been with us since day one. We've promoted them from within, so we've taught them from that level. The standard's always up here, and then try and aim for even more. So it just continues to flow down, and people call each other out if things aren't up to standard, and it does become. It becomes twofold. You've got the business and you're trying to monetize that event as much as you can. We understand that without compromising the quality. And I feel operations is my side. It's what I'm really passionate about. And I feel like we've really, really got that down. So everyone works really, really, really hard. It's hard work what we do. You have to be physically fit. You have to enjoy what you're doing. But again, we've got that really tight community where everyone works together, pulls each other up on standards, pushes hard. And then, you know, when we're driving 5-6 hours back from an event, everyone pats himself on the back and can have a bit of a talk in the car and talk about the event as well. So even our staff are invested in what we do, which really excites me. And having some of them come to us and going, hey, can we invest? That makes me feel pretty excited that they're working for us, seeing what we're doing, and they also want to invest because they see it as a good opportunity.
And Rob, no, just answer Charles' question this way. I think Unyoked has done a remarkable job. I know they've raised a couple $1 million from investors. They see the market opportunity, but also the importance of environmental sustainability. To draw a distinction between the two models, if I could, Charles, that Unyoked asks the landowner to perform a range of services to maintain their tiny houses that are on their land. What we've decided to do, which is a little bit different, is that the nature experiences that we deliver from one of our venues is integrated. We just don't just provide accommodation. Our range of services are a broader scope. And so therefore we can utilize our staff to deliver that full range and be more hands-on, because the feedback that we've got, and there's from people that have got tiny houses on their land on a one-on-one basis, is actually there's a little bit of work for them to do, like collect firewood, maybe do even some cleaning, sometimes even greet guests. So what we want to do is we actually want to put our staff there to be on the front face as opposed to the landowner themselves.
And to touch, sorry, Alan, that's perfect. To touch on that again, to come back to the scalability of what I was saying before, because we can do it with 10 bell tents or 5 yurts and a couple of teepees or whatever. It's that scalability. So to have a staff manned to greet somebody, clean, put firewood in a remote location, it's financially not feasible from a business perspective. The customer service would be amazing, getting your own butler turning up. But to be able to do that on a scale where there's 10, 15, 20 accommodation units is much more viable, because then that becomes a whole resort within itself. And it becomes not only customer service level is up to this level and up to our standards, but also it becomes financially viable for the business as well, to be able to put somebody on there to offer those services.
And Charles, one of our competitive advantages we feel is that to build a beautiful tiny house is expensive. You're talking from $70,000 to $100,000 each. Whereas our tents, as beautiful as they are, they're nowhere near as expensive. So therefore we have a low cap business model.
Yeah, fantastic. And he's actually asked 2 further questions, which I'm going to answer that just because they're below this one. So basically, secondly, as location is so crucial, what is your approach to identifying locations and cultivating sustainable relationships with landowners? You've already touched on this a little bit, but I was just wondering if there's anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah, I think to come back to what I said before about the areas that we've located, we put in lots of research and speaking with people, they've got a higher spend per person in the nature tourism areas. So let's pick an easy one, Byron Bay. I think most people, even if they've not been to them, know it's filled with retreats. There's a real environment, sustainable ethos around that whole area. So to go somewhere like that into the hinterland, we had somewhere approach us the other day. It was amazing. I just want to move there and go and run it all myself, which was just stunning. So that's how we will choose our locations. There's other sets of criteria that we need meeting, whether it's sewerage, amenities, access roads, particular permits as well. Or we know we can obtain those permits with the experience that predominantly Alan's got from the legal background, and my on the ground side of things as to what we need for reasonable access as well. But yeah, to work with those and to bring people in, we want to work with those people. We want to work with the landowners, because a lot of people that have approached us are sat there on land, however many acres, that they can't monetize it. It's not sustainable financially from turning it into farmland, or they don't want to do the work, or it's remote and they don't live there. They've just got land that they want to turn to monetize. So we've got the option to be able to go and do that. And something else that kind of brings me on to as well, another competitive edge that we've got is when we first set up the pop-up side of the glamping, we would get a lot of people approach us and go, hey, I own this land, Bells Beach, whatever. Can you put 5 accommodation units on it? Yes, no, whatever. and we work with those guys. But that's a specific bit of land. So if it doesn't meet the criteria, maybe you can't get a permit, it's too expensive, you can't get the environmental improvement. We don't have those constraints, although we do have a few venues which we've strategically picked out. We can go to landowners, to real estate agents, etc., with our really specific set of criteria and go, we like this area. Are there any people in the local area that would like to monetize their land and meet these requirements? That's the beauty that we have. We're really flexible as well, drawing back on what I was saying before about flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And the third and final question, which you've had here from Charles, is about the liability exposure here and how expensive is the insurance for this type of business. He's kind of stating as an American, he's perhaps overly skittish on litigation, but kind of really congratulates you guys and can't wait to see you succeed.
Thank you. Yeah, look, Charles, if you want to, you seem like you've got quite a few good questions as well. If you want to reach out to us personally, I'm happy to chat in more detail too after we've answered your questions. Yeah, the liability, again, it just comes with the knowledge. Every site is different. What kind of liability depends whether it's freehold, leasehold, whether we're taking out, whether we're going to have it staffed, unstaffed, whether you're going to put tree houses on there, whether there's water there. So there isn't one answer. There's a million different answers depending on what is on the land, what location it's in, and what you're going to do with that land. So it really is a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just kind of finalizing this piece around the land itself, because you've had a number of questions here. Somebody asked if you own the land yourself, which you've kind of already covered off that you don't. And really, because of the flexibility of the business model, it wouldn't really be the right strategic move to do so. But Emma's here asked about how you're working with Indigenous landowners, because obviously there's a lot in Australia. And no doubt it's a really important question.
Yep,
absolutely. Yeah, look, as part of our ethos, we have a whole policy in regards to this area, and we're sensitive to this aspect. And obviously, we're working with local Indigenous communities. We have some very strong contacts in this space, and we work with them as well in terms of taking, professional advice in terms of the best way forward. So when we feel that we don't have the internal skill set to deal with it from our level, with its cultural heritage management plans, there's one particular lady that we're very close to, who's a partner at PwC, who gives us guidance on that.
Right, fantastic.
Can I just expand on that? Because we're writing this presentation, we're like, right, we need to get across this, and this, and we've tried to bring it down, but now the questions are coming through, it's making me think about stuff which probably will be helpful for you guys to know. Again, I'm harping on about the community and being integrated, which you said I will quite a lot. But what we really want to do is bring everybody into this community. So, for example, we've got a unique style of marquees that we had specifically made. There's only one other company in Australia that have them. We're really good friends with that other company as well, and we work with them closely. Handmade out of bamboo, up in Queensland, amazing structures. So we've kind of come up with an idea. We're going to offer a workshop. So these people can come down and they can learn how to build these yurts, stay in these yurts, and then, learn all these principles of the land and how to cultivate the land, etc.
Awesome.
Well, so we've got so many ideas around that, and around waste. Somebody contacted us about a compost worm toilet, which I'd heard details of, but I didn't know much specific details about. But to get these people to get involved in the festivals and the stays at our sites, we're really excited to do this, because as much as it'd be nice to know everything, we don't. And sustainability and community and working with people is huge, because you learn so much. Even, Charles said before about he works in solar and the lights in a switch goes off. I'm like, right, we've got one site and we need to get some new solar lights down there. So I'm thinking of this on the spot as well. So look, ultimately, we want to get as many people involved as we can, because it's only going to enhance the company, enhance everybody's knowledge as well as experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a key detail. And I think that I love the flexibility of your business model, but also the other additional revenue streams which you're looking to add to not only the business, but also the experience from a consumer perspective. Vincent here has asked how the capital raise will be spent. Obviously, what I'd love to answer here and really just preface this with is the fact that in the offer document, you're going to be able to see a use of funds in section, in section 3, so you can really understand exactly what the capital is going to be spent on at $200,000 and then at the maximum offer amount. Somebody else has also asked around the difference between the 200K and obviously your maximum of 2.3 million. So really what the additional funds are going to be spent on. And I think that would be great to address now.
Yeah, perfect. Do you want
to... Like Robin said, depending on how many venues we decide to grow into will be based on the amount of money that we raise. But our predominant focus is ensuring that what we've done at our existing venues is replicated as to the same quality and range of experiences that we've got at those locations. So, whether it's the quality of the glamping experience, the quality of the nature activities. So we want to make sure that each venue that we expand into, whether it's in Victoria or interstate, it's just replicated so we don't change the quality level. And each one is budgeted because obviously we've got 3 now, so we know exactly what we do at each venue.
And just to elaborate on what Alan said, that's exactly right. And when we mean replicate the same, exactly what Alan said, just to emphasize that, it's replicate the quality and the level of the customer service, not the offering. The offering might be completely different, and this is the bit that gets me excited. I'm from the UK, obviously. We're in Australia. I've been over here 12 years. We're a solid at least 10 years behind Europe and America in what we're doing in Australia as a market. In tiny houses, not so much, but with the glamping and unique accommodation offerings. So we're just seeing all these things come out of Europe and America, and it's just amazing. So it really will depend on the money that we do raise, and that, like Robin said, that's in one of the sections in the offer document, which you'll get a copy of soon within the days. For example, there's been a site in the UK that just bought an old, I think it was off Emirates, an old aeroplane, like giant jumbo aeroplane.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it chopped into like 2 sections. So, doing that with $200,000 is quite difficult because you'll be able to create 2 or 3 accommodation units. Doing that when you're up to the maximum is probably a lot easier. So it really will depend on what kind of funds we get as to where we allocate those first of all. But like Alan said, paramount will be keeping the standard to the standard that we currently deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've had an interesting question here from Chris, who said, Christopher Tang, who said, "Hi guys, super interesting concept in business. Glamped only once and it was a wonderful experience that I would definitely do again and recommend to others. Needless to say, I'm interested in becoming an investor. Will the company financials be released in the offer document? And how much equity will Tiny Village Group release?" Financials will be in the offer document. So it's going to be the last financial year of accounts that are going to be in the offer document for you to be able to view. So that's the P&L, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement, and then change it as an equity statement. And I'd love you guys to really answer the question around how much equity you're going to be releasing.
Well, depending on whether it's the minimum or maximum.
Yeah.
Obviously, what we're trying to do is replicate the experience at each venue. So as a percentage, if it's the maximum, you're looking around 30%. If it's a minimum, you're looking around 5%.
Yeah, fantastic. And that really concludes that, the post money valuation in a position whereby you're looking at the maximum target is around 6 million as a business.
And Robin, Unyoked, Cabin, and a number of other competitors, both here in the United States and likewise in Europe, the value in the organisation comes from the intellectual property of knowing what structures, what logistics, what legal permits are required, what makes commercial sense to put on a site, driving the marketing to these sites, the sort of destinations that people are looking for. So the real value is that we've already done it 3 times. It's about replicating it again in different locations.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vincent here has really asked about the current valuation of the company. So prior to the capital raise, which would be obviously the pre-money valuation,
Yeah.
because cash is valued as cash.
Yeah. So we took a benchmark from Unyoked. Unyoked's valuation was about 14 million. They raised 2.5 million. We're valued at a lot lower level than that, even though our turnover and our revenues and our profits are actually higher than that organisation.
Yeah.
So we're about half the valuation that Unyoked was.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic.
It's all in the document as well.
It's all contained in the document. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just want to highlight to everybody that a lot of this information is contained in the offer document, and it will be there. It's really good to kind of talk through it. So once you do get a hold of that offer document, you do have any questions for us in relation to equity crowdfunding, or Alan and Lee from Tiny Village Group in relation to the business, do ask it. But you can't find it, Control F it on the offer document, and you are very likely to find your answer. As I always do with very large documents. So Mark here has asked how the sites we manage and maintain. We've talked quite a lot about the sites and the maintenance and management of them, and really how the focus is on sustainability and, you know, preserving these sites, because you're able to go in, set up something and move out there, you know, fairly quickly and efficiently. Is there anything else that really you wanted to touch on with regards to the management and maintenance of the sites?
I think everyone's just completely different. I mean,
Yeah,
it's really, really different. We've had some people approach us for future projects, and people just go, "You do it. That's it. Pay us fee. You do it." And we go, "Awesome." Some people go, "Well, you know what? We actually would like to be involved. Can we help?" You know, for example, one property we did, and this guy loved mowing his grass. He wanted to be the groundsman for that. It was only a really small pop-up for, I think, 6 weeks, not in yacht ways, but they maintained the area. They dropped the firewood off. They interacted with the guests. They dropped food off. They wanted to do that. And it was great because it added to that kind of niche, bespoke experience. And we with that. We deal a lot. I deal a lot with these people. So I can tell, you get a bond straight away with people, and you're just like, you know what, these guys are really going to add value by coming dropping firewood off, and maybe a little marshmallow kit at the end of the night or something like that. So the site's completely different. It's a good question. And we're happy to work. I've said it a million times. We're really flexible. We're happy to work in any of those different ways. So if somebody calls and goes, "Do it all," no worries. Or someone goes, "We want to do half and half," or "You manage this," then we're open. We're easy to deal with. So yeah, every site will be different.
Yeah, absolutely. And Claire here has asked a question, which is, around the rewards and investor rewards. And we've got that table, which will be sent around to everybody so they can really visibly see just how generous the rewards are for every investor who's coming in at different levels. But the second half of the question is, how do investors get dividend type returns? So this is obviously centered around the exit strategy of the business on top of those rewards, because of course, everybody who's investing is getting an equity share ownership of the business.
And look, Robert, on that, also contained in the offer document, Claire, is a list of investments that have happened in this space around the world, in particular Europe and the US, but there's also an Asian organisation that's raised significant money. This nature tourism experience sector is seen as a genuine sector that's going to grow over the next 10, 20, 30 years. What we've found when we talk to our customers and our community is that the traditional getaway to a 5-star hotel in the middle of the city, even more so now with COVID restrictions that have been imposed recently, people want to get out. They want to engage in nature. They want an experience that they'll remember, that's in a destination that they'll be talking about for the rest of their life. It is a different mindset change about what they want to get out of their getaway. The other big movement in this sector is why we're excited about is that the traditional 2-week or 4-week holiday that most people used to take in the past is very difficult to get now in our modern society. People might have 2 days to get away, or a day, or a long weekend. That what we're finding is that people want to get away more often, and that's why we started this Get Away More Often Club. And in terms of exit, my background is that I'm a corporate securities lawyer and been involved in a lot of IPOs on the US and in America. Sorry, in the US and Australia. So what we believe we can do is that we can build a community that is like-minded, are passionately concerned about environmental sustainability, want the benefits of those experiences, but also want a financial reward. So we've taken active measures already. This is step one of actually looking at listing on the Australian Stock Exchange within the next 3 to 5 years. We have put people in place to make sure that trajectory does happen.
Awesome. Fantastic. And we've just had a question here below from Christina about mitigating weather risk. Oh, if we were in the UK, Lee, this would be a nightmare. It rains every 5 minutes. So, and it's always grey as well, just for anybody who hasn't been. But yeah, I mean, mitigating weather risk, I'm sure that this is just a weekly occurrence.
Yeah. Contact me, I can tell you about 3,000 stories about how we mitigated weather risks.
Yeah.
Look, we set up in all sorts. I've said it before, we have got the best crew ever. Like, the staff that work for us are awesome and nothing is ever too much. So ultimately the ethos is we have to deliver, that's it. And it has to be to the standard, that's it. Whatever we have to do around that, all the nitty gritty in the grey area and the setting up in howling winds and throwing down rain, we do it all before. So look, we just roll with the punches. We have when we take on events, etc. I'm talking about the event side of things now. We're going to set up a festival or weddings or weekends away. We'll have a desired day that we want to go and set up. And then a couple of weeks out, we monitor the weather. We're in constant contact with the client and the customers. And we might go, they've got a wedding on the Saturday, we're due to set up on the Friday. It's going to be gale force winds on the Friday. Let's set up on the Thursday or the Wednesday. So look, it's a hard part of the business, but it's something I've dealt with for so long.
So many times, I'm sure.
It's just, I look back to we're both from the UK, Robin. Yeah. I look back to going to those festivals, and we used to get free festival tickets because we'd go and take the structures down in exchange for tickets for work. So literally 3-4 days at a festival, you know what you feel like after 4 days at a festival and not showering, etc. It's a little bit more advanced these days, thankfully.
Yeah.
Wake up, you're in your gumboots, you then go and spend 2-3 days working 16 to 18 hour days taking down in the UK summer, which is traditionally pouring with rain. So all over weather.
That sounds horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And I dread to think how many of those tents were broken after the festival as well. Always happens. So we've just had an interesting question actually here from Arwina, who I wanted to highlight. She said, I'm curious as to why you're seeking an equity crowdfunding approach rather than a membership system, given the extras, because they're pretty generous as well. Is that because of the amount of capital that you're looking to raise? So I think in one of the approaches here, Arwina, it kind of highlights the difference between a reward-based crowdfunding approach compared with an equity crowdfunding approach. And when you compare the two, companies raise significantly more through equity crowdfunding. But I'd love Alan and Lee to touch on this too, as to why they chose equity crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding regulations have been relaxed in recent times. And the ability to provide investor benefits in a membership, but linked to an ownership interest, is only a recent event. So under the law, we can now provide all these benefits for investors that join in as part of this crowdfunding environment. So that's the advantage, that our community are our owners. Our community are our marketing arm. Our community receive the rewards, not only financially, but enjoy the nature stays and experiences as being part of the ownership of the organisation.
Absolutely. And we've still got a few questions to get through. I know we've hit to 1 o'clock, but I'm just going to go through these as quickly as possible. For anybody who does need to shoot off, we will send off a recording for this, but I'm just going to try and whiz through some of these final questions here. We've just had a question about somebody who's asked if you know Alan from Wild Beast Eco Tours. I'm sure that everybody in the industry is fairly aware of each other.
Yeah.
But I
No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Interesting.
Wild. I'm going to write that one down.
Wild Beast.
It does sound awesome. It does sound awesome. And then we've had
No, we
somebody.
don't. But like I say, in January we'll be creating a lot of new partnerships. So yeah, we will certainly be reaching out.
I did see his email address, but I'm not familiar with the organisation yet.
Absolutely. We'll want to pick up on. And then an anonymous attendee has said, do you encourage people to tune out of tech, etc., laptops and mobile phones too? I think that's a really interesting question. And they've said, strange question, but I have a business add-on idea that could be mutually beneficial. I know you've been getting this throughout the capital raise, so this is really interesting to see during the webinar. They've left their contact details to try and reach out. I'll forward those on to you, so you can kind of reach out afterwards. And as mentioned, in January, after the capital raise is over, Christina here has asked if there's any issues with the council around obviously permits and things like this. I think you've gone over so many different hurdles in so many different regions with regards to this, but I'd love to kind of touch on perhaps some of the growth into different states and where you've kind of gone through the procedures of understanding the regulation and the councils and what you need to do.
The short answer, yes, there is.
Yeah.
But, you know, law background, a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding legislations, processes, relationships as well is massive. So, you know, going in there and going, this is the permit, this is what we want, etc., it doesn't quite work most of the time. It's a case of, again, the word community, building these relationships up. When we set up one of our sites, and I won't go into too much detail, we had years worth of planning, permits, etc., lots of objections, lots of issues. So we adopted this scenario where we was like, you know what, emails flying backwards and forwards doesn't seem to work for anyone. Let's go and have a chat on the site. All went down there, all had a chat. It went through straight away afterwards. And it was just a case of getting our vision across, finding out what people's issues are, because it's easy to push a permit through if you really need to. But to be able to get the people around you that are going to be involved is really, really important. So there's just different ways of going around it. Yeah, there's the legal route, but there's also the friendship connection route and trying to bring people on board, because sometimes people just see a black and white piece of paper going, permit, it's going to obstruct my views, it's going to add noise, I'm not going to be happy with it. And you know what? Some of the beautiful places we set up, I'd probably think that myself if I saw it, but to get us and our team and everyone in front of them and say, you know what, let's come and set a tent up so you can see what it's like.
Yeah.
You don't like it there because you can see it from your house. I wouldn't like it there either. Where can we put it? So it's just community engagement is a big
100%.
Yeah, we work really well with, we aim to work really well with anybody that we engage in on all different levels, whether that's shareholders, the community, everybody.
For sure. And you've had a question here, which I can probably answer. Will the offer document be coming prior to Tuesday, or will we only receive that when the offer opens? I'm afraid that the aim here is really to get the offer document completed and done and will be ready for you on Tuesday. If we're all set up very well, we might be able to open a little bit before that midday timeline. But as it's really so important for us to get everything completed and ready for Tuesday next week, it's very likely that it will only be available once the investment offer opens. And then Justine below has said, thanks so much for this. We'll be online ready for Tuesday. Fantastic. I can't wait to see you there, Justine. And then Emma here has asked, how many people does the business currently employ? If you raise the maximum capital, how many employees would you vision yourselves having? Interesting question.
Good question.
Good question. Depending on the number of venues that we roll out, unlike Unyoked, we try to have full-time staff at each venue location. Yeah. So once we start going into state, the number of employees will increase in those different states to service the full range of nature experiences that we offer.
Yeah, it's a real hard question to answer, to be honest. As to how many we operate here. So on the pop up, pop down arm, we have a lot of casuals who've worked for us since day one, because our busy season falls beautifully with the university off season. So we might have a casual pool of 20, 30 staff at any one time in the busy season. There's a lot of, hey, can you bring a friend? We need an extra few bodies because it's raining, as per the question before, etc. But as to how many people we're going to have, it really depends how many sites we've got. Yeah, it's a really hard question to answer. I just don't have an answer for that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Mandy here has said, what if someone wants to get away from everyone? It feels like you will be in a community of accommodation people at these locations such as Byron Bay, etc. So how can people therefore get away and more so into nature? I perhaps think that that's maybe the angle which is being focused on here.
Yeah. I think if I've understood it right, look, we're going to be setting up in anything in the centre of Byron Bay. The places, you know, we've kind of earmarked to more hinterlands and out the way anyway. So although it's Byron Bay, it's very, very different. We would want to offer a variety of activities that you can get away and to different places as well. So, for example, down at the tiny village at Lavers Hill, there's sunset tours, etc. There's night walks to go and see the glowworms. This can be undertaken with one or two people or a mass group tour. So it's really just on a case-by-case basis as to where we are set up. Tarinder Estate, 15 tents there. They're separated, so you know you're not sleeping on top of each other. We always try and do, for example, if there's only 3 people who've booked out, say it's a Monday night and we're quiet, try and separate people so they're not on top of each other. Customer service, again, it makes sense to give everyone the best experience that they can have. There's a walk to like a private beach that they've got access to down there. It's you know, it's not the way Sundays. It's a rocky beach, but it's still beautiful to be able to get away. So I guess to be able to get away, it's about us and our staff educating people to where they can go to get away. Because some people turn up and they just go, all right, I want to go to the pub, I want to go to all the main activities. So they might want to get away as in go home and be away from it all, but they might want to go and be near the centre. Whereas some else might turn up and might be like, from one of the previous questions before, I've got 3 phones, they're ringing constantly, I'm sick of my laptop, I just want to go and read a book and sit in a tiny house. So the information you give to people is very different depending on what they're trying to experience.
And also, Robin, on that question, just to highlight again, people don't have to stay at our venues. The luxury of our integrated nature experiences, we'll pop up a tent on a beautiful farmstead or an area that we can get access to away from our venues.
Yep.
Our venues act as an infrastructure hub. So we'll have 10 or 15 tents stored there. So if people don't actually want to stay in that group setting, we'll set up something 5, 10, 15, 100 kilometers away where they're completely by themselves.
Yeah, fantastic. And I've just got literally a few more questions. Justine here has asked how we'll pay for investments. I'd just love to go through this. There's actually 2 options for Australians. So you've got direct debit, which basically just means putting in your bank's details, and then we'll capture the payment at the end of the process. And for people who invest during the private period of the process, so for everybody who's expressed an interest to invest, you will actually get your payment terms deferred until the very end of the campaign. So we won't collect your payment until the very end, until the campaign has closed. Then you could transfer the funds across to Birchal as well, put it into our trust account before it's transferred to Twilight Glamping. Or if you're overseas, you can use TransferWise, which is integrated in our platform as well. And we've had, interesting questions here around locations. Somebody said you have a location at the Great Ocean Road, or so at the Great Ocean Road, are you or will you be targeting the Blue Mountains in New South Wales or other popular? I believe we saw the Blue Mountains in New South Wales in the presentation, or popular tourist destinations like Whitsundays and the Great Barrier Reef.
My answer to that, and just to recap, when we say Byron Bay, we're not talking about in the heart of Byron Bay. We're talking about in the hinterlands where you're isolated away from the masses.
Yeah.
So Blue Mountains is a little bit different to Byron Bay, but if the question is revolving around whether they're going to be mass population density locations, the answer to that is definitely no. Will they be 10, 15, 20, 30 kilometres away? Potentially. But the locations that we've picked, are not designed to be a competitor to the local Marriott or the local Hilton or the local Holiday Inn. It's going to have its own nature setting that is quite unique and special compared to your traditional holiday stays.
And on top of that, because that's a good point, I looked at it from a different way. We are really open to any suggestions. I've said it a few times. We've been contacted by just crazy places that were like, "Are you interested in this? Are you interested in this?"
Yeah.
To it, because if you're thinking about it, I'm assuming a large handful of other people are thinking about it as well. So we're not closed off to anything. We do have a certain criteria that needs meeting. Certain criteria might all not have to be met, and we can tick some of those boxes maybe when we take over or we start doing things or working with the landowner. But yeah, look, we're really open. And we're happy to be guided by if people constantly want us to set up at a certain location, then I'm assuming, like I said, a lot of other people are as well. So that's something we're open to. For
sure. And Mandy here has just asked about where you're looking to set up on Kangaroo Island. So what area of Kangaroo Island do you mention that you're likely to set up?
We can't go into too much detail, is the honest answer. It sounds like a political answer. Happy to have the discussions with people separately. We can't go into too much detail just because we've got maybe options on different places, etc. We're in certain talks with different places. It might not happen. We might not get the funding we want to set up there. That might be one of the last things that we want to do. So I don't want to seem like we're dodging the question. It's just something we can't disclose at this point in time, but happy to talk further. And if you want to contact us, maybe there's another reason for your question or whatever. Maybe you've got an idea as well. If you contact us personally, happy to do that as well.
Sounds good. And I think, look, I'll just take one final question here from Christopher, who I think has asked about international expansion. So saying, does Tiny Village Group see themselves going international in the next 3 to 5 years prior to your planned IPO?
No.
You'd like to focus on Australia. Fair enough. That makes sense. You've got a pretty hefty roadmap here. And in terms of, your setup and what you're looking to do, there's a lot to be covered. Australia is still a very big country and there's still a lot of regions here that you can work on. What was that, Lee?
I said that's more than big enough to get us started over the next
Exactly.
Even all the conversations of people suggesting things, I'm starting to worry straight away now. It's like, but it's an exciting journey as well. And we just want to say thanks very much.
Thank you.
We've really been blown away by everyone's, even people that maybe haven't wanted to invest who've gone, I've got some advice for you, can we chat? It's just been awesome. Like we're blown away. I think we'll continue to be blown away by the support that we've received from everyone, you yourself included as well, Robin, and all the guys there. The process has been easy. It's been great. We're really excited to launch next week.
Awesome. Fantastic. And look, thanks for everybody who has stayed until the end. I know we ran over. There's tons of questions. If your question hasn't been answered, we will be contacting you with a full recording of the webinar. You can always get back to me, or you can always reach out to Lee or Alan here and just understand a bit more of the finer details for some of the other elements of the growth strategy for the business, because it is really interesting as to how you're going to grow across Australia, and everybody wants to know about locations. Some for investor perspective, but I gather most are very keen to be able to stay somewhere. So I can imagine that that's part of the agenda here. But really excited to be working with you guys and really excited to be launching the investment offer next week on Tuesday. Everybody who's attended this webinar today, I will be following up with you. You will be some of the first people who have access to the investment offer when it opens. So thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you all soon, but if you need anything else in the meantime, you know where to reach us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Robbie.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.